All right. We're going to get going here. Before we introduce our awesome panel of coaches we got on tonight, just want to give everyone a quick intro of who I am. If you don't already know me, I'm the program director here at FLG, and I'm sitting right next to Bob Schmidt, who's also one of our directors here at FLG. We got some great topics we're going to cover tonight. I'll run through. It's basically 6 parts. We're going to cover finding the right fit. We're going to talk about getting noticed and the importance of highlight videos. We're going to talk about exposure and events. We're going to talk about communicating with college coaches, visits and commitments. And then the last thing and the last piece we're going to talk about is scholarships and challenges. And 95% of the presentation tonight will cover what we consider the recruiting process. So we're going to basically give the floor to the college coaches that were nice enough to dedicate an hour of their time here tonight amongst the start of their practices and preparing for their spring season, which is easily their busiest time of the year. So we really appreciate them coming on tonight. But they're going to pretty much answer a series of questions that are going to cover different topics within the recruiting process. So we're going to turn it over to them in like a minute or two. I just want to quickly give a shout out to one young man and one young lady who won the Stud Lead Award, which is a $500 scholarship we do at our program every year, which is basically, one male, one female who just does an outstanding job in the classroom, on the field, and also in their community. So Tommy Whalen, who's a 2017 defenseman from Manhasset, won our $500 scholarship and Stud Lead Award on the guys' side this year, and then Cassidy Salazzo won 2017 attacker from Bayshore. So Coach Silipo is giving them a round of applause. I agree. They're great. They're great kids, man. Well deserved. And I want to give them a shout out, which I think they're actually on here tonight. So we'll be promoting them through our channels and whatnot. So congratulations. All right. So before we turn over to our coaches again, we got 2 slides. Just real quick, we want to recap the importance of finding the right fit and talk about kind of what that means, which we'll dive into in a little bit as well. We want to make sure that parents that are going through the recruiting process that are watching this tonight don't lose sight of why they're going to college. While we're all kind of here tonight because we're a part of the lacrosse community, we love lacrosse, and we want to be the best that we can be at it. It really is about getting a quality education, seeing where you fit socially, making sure that you're setting yourself up for success after you graduate college. Because again, it is, or usually is, 4 years. So the process it can be pretty intense. Bob went through it with his daughter. And do you want to maybe touch on, how to kind of not lose sight of it, make it a little more enjoyable and not as intense?
Yeah, I'm not sure I did such a good job of that all the time, but looking back on it, I think if you can, make it something of an adventure and just kind of lighten up on it and maybe, reduce the stress level within your family and certainly on your child, it can make the whole process a lot nicer for everybody and enjoyable and hopefully, create some good memories along the way and on the road to making a good choice.
Definitely. And, it's important, which Bob, did do with his daughters, keep things in perspective and, kind of target schools that fit, in this case, his daughter, or it could be, your son who's kind of now going through it. Now, it's important now to promote yourself. Not too long ago, essentially your play kind of spoke for itself, and hopefully you had a high school coach that spoke on your behalf. Now there's so many ways to promote yourself, so we want to make sure that you're doing it realistically, honestly, and effectively, and efficiently too. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, and you can waste a lot of time and money if you don't do it the right way. So it's important that you promote yourself in the right way, and don't get caught up in the D's. Tonight we'll get into how we have Division I, II, and III coach out there. You can have just as good experience at Merrimack as you do at BU, or at Scranton as you do at Merrimack, so it doesn't necessarily matter as much what the division is. It really matters what the school is about and maybe what the conference is about and how that might fit your son who's going through the recruiting process. All right, so we're going to kind of talk about finding the right fit and priorities in 4 different categories. You have academics, finances, you have the social aspect, and the athletics. Now, this can vary depending on which coach, whatever coach it is that kind of runs a specific program. One coach might feel as though, the social component is the most important because they want to make sure that you're comfortable at the school you fit in, and that kind of takes care of everything else beneath it. Another school might feel as though the academics is the driving force behind when you make your decision. So this can kind of fluctuate and change depending on the coach that's running the program. And our coaches might touch on this a little bit later, but do understand that there's more that goes into this than that last piece, which is the athletics. All right, so we have our 3 coaches on tonight. After I give a quick intro, we're just going to have you guys, we'll start with Coach Morgan, then we'll go to Coach Sage, and then Coach Slip. Just give a quick background, maybe of you as a coach, and talk about your program. Feel free to promote yourselves in any way you'd like. Give a little history, successes, failures. It's all good. So we have, Coach Sage representing. You want to put your hand up as the Division III coach. He's the head coach over at Scranton. Coach Morgan, he's the head coach over at Merrimack. And we got Coach Silipo, who's the assistant coach over at BU. So, Coach Morgan, you want to give a little background on yourself here?
Sure. I grew up on Long Island, played at St. Dominic's, started my career back there after college. I went to Sacred Heart, transferred to Merrimack as a sophomore, was here till my senior year. Graduated from here, went back and coached St. Dom's, came back, did 2 assistant years at Merrimack, got the head coaching job when I was 27. Since then, we're 114 and 33, and been to 3 Final Fours, and we're last 2 years we lost in overtime to Lemoyne 2 years ago, and last year we lost to Lemoyne. They went on to win the whole thing. But yeah, moved back up here, took over the program, and we'll go obviously more in depth about Merrimack and kind of how we do things. But overall, just preseason second in the country this year in Division II, and hopefully poised for a big year.
Coach Sage, you want to give a little background here?
Sure. Doug Sage. I grew up in North Jersey, went to Ridgewood High School. Then I had the opportunity to play at Gettysburg College for Coach Janzik. Strong Division III program. Played Division III lacrosse, and I coached back there for 5 years off and on for Coach Janzik as a first and second assistant for 5 years. Also coached at Stevens Tech and Drew University in New Jersey. And then I just started my 5th season here at the University of Scranton. So, been here for 5 years. When I left the Gettysburg College, my goal was to take over a Division III program that I felt I could put my stamp on. And we had a pretty good program here, and we're trying to build it up and be a top tier, top 20 Division III program. And that's our goal here. And we've taken some big steps over our first few years and have been in the semifinals and conference championships. But our goal is to be winning and compete in the landmark conference, and hopefully moving on to the NCAAs this year and to years to come. So Division III university. What's great about the University of Scranton is we're located in a city, but we have our campus carved into kind of our nook on the hill. So about 4,000 students. So we're kind of a little bigger Division III university. So it's a good place, and recruit mostly in New Jersey, Philly, Pennsylvania, Long Island, Westchester, New York. So a lot of our students and our student athletes come from those major areas.
Awesome.
So, guys, I'm Mike Silipo. I'm from Deerfield, Massachusetts. Wasn't soft enough to go to Deerfield, so don't judge me there. I played ball at Ithaca College, and then I got immediately into coaching. I coached football and lacrosse at Williams College for 3 years. Then left to go back to Bomberland in upstate New York for the last 3, and was lucky enough to get the offensive coordinator job here at BU this past summer. Let's see. I love what I do. I'm lucky to do it, just like these young gentlemen here, these 2 head coaches, and just looking forward to answering all the questions. And there's only so much I can say about BU and the Patriot League, but Division I is a little bit of a different animal, but it's the same game. The only difference is in terms of how we recruit. I'm recruiting 14-year-olds, and these guys are recruiting 16, 17-year-olds, and that's a different animal. So looking forward to the rest of the talk.
Cool. So, Coach Slip, you want to kind of dive into the commitment level? I would like to actually hear from each coach. Let's start with you as a representative here of Division I school, a very competitive one at that. What is the commitment level for players that are currently, on your roster, on your team?
Yeah, I being a D3 guy, wholeheartedly, I am a D3 guy. The commitment level is pretty similar. The difference is the fall. We get guys, we get for 5 weeks, we get them for 20 hours a week, and for the rest of the time, we only get them for 2 hours, and that's on the field. But at Ithaca and at when I played, and obviously at Scranton and Merrimack, in season it's 6 days a week. It's 3 to 4 hours a day of lacrosse, whether that's film, lifting, playing on the field. So the commitment level at all levels is extremely high. You got to love the game to play it at the next level. And I think the biggest difference between us and Coach Morgan's program is that we can give dollars in terms of what you're playing. So that brings a different beast. Coach Sage works at the the Division III level, which is the purest form of sport because there's no one keeping them there. So I think the commitment level as a whole is extremely important, and it's extremely high. You got to love what you do. You got to put a lot of time into it. You got a bunch of teammates who rely on you and push you and stuff like that. So I think that the biggest difference at Division I level is what we're doing in the fall and how much time you're putting in and having to take summer classes or winter classes because you're taking less classes in season and also in the fall because of the amount of time that you're playing lacrosse. So that's, to me, the biggest difference.
Coach Sage, do you want to maybe talk about your fall schedule? Because I think Coach Slip hit it on the head that that fall seems to be the biggest difference in terms of the a specific season. What do you guys do in the fall? In terms of having your players get better, I guess on the field and in the classroom too.
Yeah, I think Coach Silipo is right. I think the spring season's similar to all of us. We're all coming off our practices tonight. But the fall is different in that we only get our 16 days with our guys. So a lot of Division III programs will go, 4 weeks in the fall and practice about 4 days a week. That's 16. We go 5 weeks in the fall and go about 3 practices a week, which gets us to 15. Then we have our one play day where we can scrimmage outside competition. So we get 16 total days with our guys. We start a little later in September, so they get a few weeks to prep themselves, and our young guys can get adjusted to being on campus. But the major difference is, when we end fall ball, we can't have any athletic contact with our guys. So some people see that as, a negative. For us, it allows us to really push our older guys to take control of the program. And we tell them, for 3.5 months, this program's yours. We'll give you the structure and the workouts, the recommended workouts, and we'll help you schedule indoor time as much as we can as administrators. But we really push our guys to really lead the program. And we have a squad program that divvies our guys up, and they have to work out in our small squads and groups of 5 or 6 guys. So it takes a little bit of the challenge of us monitoring our guys and puts it on our juniors and seniors to really run the program. So some people look at it as a negative. I can't interact with my guys athletically, but we do a lot of academic support with our guys throughout those 3 months, and then our older guys really get the chance to lead the program. So we try to flip it, and make it a positive thing. I'd love to be able to shoot with my guys or work out with our guys in the off season, but we're just not allowed to at the Division III level. So we try to flip the script and really put the emphasis on our older guys, giving them more leadership opportunities.
Sure. Coach Morgan, maybe you want to talk about the commitment for your guys?
Yeah, I mean, commitment level in general obviously has to be high, and Coach Silipo hit on it. Like, it's not that different, obviously, between D1, 2, and 3 in terms of the amount of time you put in and the effort and the focus. But I think we're probably in the middle in terms of the structure. We start the day we get back in September. We do a lot of like small group indie work, with 6 guys and 1 coach, 1 net, and we can do that pretty much unlimited for a couple weeks. And then we get into our structured fall ball, which is basically a 45-day window. We'll have about 22 practices, so it usually ends up being 2 or 3 times a week for 2 hours. And then our play day, and then we kind of scale back a little bit early November. We give the guys a week off and then kind of just get back to doing skill stuff. And then, it's one of those things that Coach Station on is from pretty much just before Thanksgiving through around the winter break. It's a great time for the captains to run a lot of skill stuff and all the individual stuff in that area. So we're kind of a morph of both of them, probably a little more similar to BU. But, like you said, it's once we get back in the spring. I mean, we started January 14th and, straight through May, 2 hours, 2 hours of practice, some film, some lifting, mixed in 1 day off a week, and that's where, the similarities between the 3 certainly come up.
It seems like, anytime you have a decently long period of time without getting an opportunity to manage or coach up your players, that could be a little concerning, alarming when you have a group of college kids. So I feel like it's I guess you can look at it as a good opportunity for leaders to kind of emerge and step up within your programs. How do you guys, specifically communicate with leaders on your teams to make sure that players aren't, taking like 3 steps backward just because you're not, working with them over that, even if it's just 1, 2, 3 weeks, at a time. It could be winter break or right after fall ball's over.
Randomly, you want me to go? I'll start it, I guess. Yeah, I think it starts with recruiting. I mean, we're always looking for guys who are self-motivated, and if they're coming to Merrimack to compete for a national championship, they go home during break and they have, 3.5 weeks. They're cut from that cloth of they're going to go home and grind and be in the gym and be on the wall and come back in shape, ready to compete. Plus, from a competitive standpoint, if they're not, we got 40-something other guys that are, so it's one of those things that I think it starts with recruiting, and then, like you hit on, you got to have good leadership, and you got to have guys who, between, say, Thanksgiving and Christmas, that are the guys, making sure that guys are getting their lifts in, making sure they're doing extra work, and then we have guys running captain's practices, and, and it trickles off the field, too, to make sure that guys academically and just, off the field stuff is not an issue, and I think that comes back to leadership for sure.
Cool. Coach Sage, anything you want to touch on in regards to that leadership aspect in the off season?
Yeah, I completely agree with Coach Morgan. It's like the guys you recruit, and we want to recruit competitors. So we want our guys, if they're putting that stick down and not lifting weights for a few months, when they get back to campus, we're going to get our butts kicked those first few weeks. So we got guys that are competing, whether they're setting a box on Tuesdays or pick up basketball or they're playing racquetball. We want them active and moving all the time. So you talked to a lot of college coaches, lacrosse, football, basketball. You want competitors because they're going to get ticked off if they lose a game of ping pong. And we want those guys. So our guys are set up, and they function, like I said earlier, in these squads, and they'll play box and indoor and hoops and ping pong and racquetball and everything. We want competitors, and they're just moving. So I think there's an ebb and flow of the 12 months. We can't be lifting in full tilt boogie like 12 months out of the year. So there's ups and downs depending on what part or what phase of the year that you're in. And but we end fall ball. Our guys know it's strength time. They got to put some weight on and get after in the weight room. But they also have some more time to do some hoops. They love playing pickup hoops or floor hockey. I think a lot of us love to get out there and play some pickup hoop or floor hockey. So that's what we really want. Like Coach Morgan says, recruiting competitors that want to get after it, no matter whether they're between the lines on the lacrosse field or between the lines on the pickup basketball or whatever it is. So recruiting competitors and just having guys that are want to get after it year round.
Sure. Well, it's obvious you guys kind of know exactly the type of player that you want to recruit in terms of those intangibles of competitiveness and having quality leadership characteristics. A question for you, Coach Silipo, like how do you make your school attractive to a prospective student athlete? There's a kid or a group of kids that you want. What do you do to say, hey, at the end of the meeting or whatever it may be, that that kid say, hey, I really want to go to BU?
Well, I mean, academics come first. Everybody's a student athlete, so most of the recruiting process is at any school is going to start with how well you're doing academically. And if the academic fit is correct and right, then we can start to worry about the lacrosse piece of it. And so, here at BU and in the Patriot League, we're top academic institutions, so you got to make sure that those student athletes are pushing themselves in the classroom and trying to be, as competitive as they are in the classroom as they would be on the field, and that's going to translate all in itself. And I'm going to tie back, to Coach Sage and competitors and this whole club scene and all that stuff. I love recruiting two-sport athletes. I think that's part of something that we look at. 2-, 3-sport athletes are dying nowadays because of the specialization of sport, and I think that brings in a different type of athlete, a different type of competitor, and it helps to generate the culture that all of us coaches are looking for, and that's a championship culture, and you get that by having competitive kids who are playing basketball and lacrosse or wrestling and lacrosse or football and lacrosse, whatever it might be. But again, it goes back to being a great student, and then you can worry about the athlete second. And so
sure.
Look for that stuff.
We actually, speaking of two-sport athletes, a question just came in for Coach Morgan. Do you guys have any two-sport athletes currently at your school? Once they graduate high school and college?
We did a couple of years ago. We had a defenseman who was basically starting middle linebacker on the football team, and he was a one-time or two-time All-American for us. And it's very rare. I mean, where we are as a program now, the commitment and I think you saw it more probably 10, 15 years ago. It's just the workload is so much, and our football program is pretty good too. So it's like at the end of the day, to have a kid who can play for us is kind of hard anyway. But then he's got to also be able to make the football team contribute and handle the academics and the workload. It's tough. I mean, we've only had we've had one in the past 8 years, 7 years. So it's not that common anymore. I wish it was, but you got to be someone special like Jimmy Holland. I'll give him a shout out because he was incredible. So
Cool. All right. Well, I appreciate you answering that. We're gonna keep moving here